So let's start, as we always do, with what is your definition of high performance? And for the first time, we get two answers, not just one.
Yeah, I wonder if you have different answers. God, big question. I think for me, I mean, obviously we perform in the literal sense, but as artists, as recording artists and performers on the stage. But I think just in general, for artists, for what we do, the ability to kind of create original ideas which have some kind of intrinsic value is the real difficulty of what we do. And to be able to do that, anyone that can do that operates probably at a high level.
Yeah, that's pretty well put. I guess it's obviously extremely subjective, but and I guess it would just kind of fall into my kind of obsessive mind anyhow. But just whatever you set your mind to or your goals, just making sure that you put everything you can into it to achieve it, and that starts at an early age. And obviously, as you get older, you know, that kind of, the amount that you can do that changes, and you realize you don't have to do things like 24/7. But yeah, I definitely think having a goal and making sure you achieve it every single time, and then setting more goals. It's constant addition of goals means your performance will always stay high, and then you never just rest on your laurels. Because then when you start doing that, any kind of performance in any vicinity starts to waver.
This is good, Saul. Sounds like you're building a journey today. So let's delve into that journey. And let's start, you know, Saul mentioned there early on about it starts at a young age. So let's go right back to, you know, when you, first realised that you both had an affinity and a natural ability at this, but then you were able to tap into the obsession to make it a success, because without hard work, we don't get anywhere. So can we talk, first of all, about this relationship? Because this is a unique thing.
Very few of us.
Yeah, very few people find this that you two have found. What was special about it?
Well, I mean, look, you mentioned the word obsessed. That's definitely why probably we sort of met in the first place, because mutual friends and through a mutual love
/ obsession.
Obsession of dance music, electronic music, British music culture in like the 90s when we were growing up. And yeah, we you know, everyone likes music when you're growing up. All of my mates were kind of into music and stuff. But when you meet someone else with a kind of almost verging on a sort of sickness, rather than just an obsession, you just kind of recognize it in that person quite quickly, and you connect with them, I guess, on a slightly different level than maybe just your average music fan. And that's, I guess, what kept us in contact through growing up in London and then going off to University of Manchester, and just coincidentally being there at the same time and bumping into each other and sort of reconnecting through that obsession of just music and culture and the things we were into at the time.
But, sorry, Saul, I was going to say that, like, you've both used quite strong terminology, obsession or a sickness, which almost has a negative connotation to what some people might describe as passion.
Yeah, I guess it does sound negative, doesn't it?
Because, you know, the thing about obsession, which I personally am guilty of with pretty much anything I'm into, like, I am crazy into it. And sometimes I might be into something like insane for a period of time, and then I'll stop. Like, I've collected vintage Moschino. I think I've got the largest personal collection in the world, and I've like completed that game now. So I've stopped collecting it every week and like sourcing it and like rummaging around, you know. But like that's gone on since we were kids, you know. So it's always these obsessions that have basically like driven everything I do.
But let's talk about it positively then. What has the obsession done for you?
Well, it's gone back to the first point. It's meant that everything we try and do, we achieve it. You know, we make sure it happens, one way or another. Like if we didn't manage to stumble across some success in music, I have no idea where I'd be. You know, it's like it was nothing else. I think what we were talking about, like the obsession connection between us, we were like also when we both went to Manchester separately, a year between each other, we clearly both gone there. It was like, we're going here because we're going to uni and we're getting away from our parents and blah, 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 and it's fun, but I'm not gonna be what am I doing? Philosophy. Man, I'm not doing this stuff. I want to be a jungle DJ. You mad? You know, like, this is what I want to be. And then, you know, reconnecting with someone up there who's clearly got the same mindset, the same dream. Because I think we both had friends who were also DJs, bedroom DJs, really good at it as well, like better than us at some stage, and like might have shown us a few things. We're like, wow, but it was us who went on to be completely besotted with it. I think it's also we fell in love with it. You know, we fall in love with these things when we're obsessed.
I think the sickness thing is just because it sort of takes over everything you do, really, and I guess gets hold of you a bit. Like, you know, when you're very sick, you're kind of consumed with an illness. So it's not meant to sound negative, but it's definitely all consuming. And at the time, it's all we did and talked about. Our entire lives were built around our obsession with music. And
what, like, how do you nurture that then, so it becomes a positive thing rather than something that?
Well,
because you can think of it like an addiction.
Yeah,
well, it's something we love.
What you realise is at some point you need to earn a living, and so you either quit your obsession and get into the real world of making money, or you try and turn your obsession into making money. And that's how you nurture it, and that's when things get serious, and it goes from being a thing that you have a laugh with your mates and, you know, you sort of endlessly chatting about, to how the hell are we going to turn this into a viable career that will pay for us to live and exist, and even in the future pay for our kids to go to school and all this kind of stuff. And that's when it goes from, I guess, an obsession into a profession.
Yeah. And what are your memories then of that period? Because it goes from being fun to actually being much more serious, probably. And then that increases the pressure, that increases the obsession, and that it's a snowball, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's in one regard, it hasn't changed. Because I was saying this to my wife the other day, which is like, when I was, how old are we, 22, 23, back then, however old it was, things that I enjoyed doing were making music, DJing, maybe DJing my tunes out in a nightclub. So you fast forward 19 years. What do I enjoy doing? Making music, DJing, playing my tunes in a nightclub. What do I do every weekend? Exactly that. So it's like, in some regards, I'm still in the exact same place we were when we were like desperately trying to like break out and come through. Because we're still in that cycle of doing the same things we love so much. Whereas friends of mine will be like, oh, mate, I've not seen Dex for a long time. It's been a long time since I DJ'd. You know, I remember the days, and I'm like, remember the days? I'm going DJing tonight. You know, It's like, it's still stuck there in that regard. So
But there's so many people listening to this that I reckon would be going, that they've heard that saying that, you know, find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Thinking, but I don't know what I love.
Yeah.
So how did you guys discover that this is a passion that you could monetize?
Well, it did become a job, and, you know, it isn't always, you know, you don't always love everything you're doing, and that point of, you know, dropping out of uni and realizing, you know, we haven't got a pot to piss in, we're gonna be working in a shoe shop unless we turn this into a viable sort of money making option. That does add stress, and, you know, suddenly you are putting yourselves in difficult positions and situations, and putting
like
yourself.
What, Matt?
Well, you start to sort of.
you haven't got any money.
Well, yeah, and you have to start plotting. You become very strategic. Well, we became very strategic, right? So it's like, okay, so work backwards. So who are the people that do make money from this? So you're our heroes, for example. And it's like, right, why are they making money? And it's like, okay, well, they've created a brand, they've created amazing music, they've managed to sell themselves, they've obviously met other important people. Okay, how did they meet those people? Well, they went to these kind of places, and you just keep going backwards until it gets quite detailed. So it was like, right, okay, so we're at a very small level. No one knows who the hell we are. Okay, who's the next person up from us that has any power or any network or any influence? The guys that work in record shops in Manchester and City Centre, okay, because they have access to the other producers that give them the records, and they know. There's no way of getting to the big people yet, but they know they're like a little bridging gap, and I can physically speak to them because I can go and buy records. So we'd spend months trying to befriend these people more than your average punter, so that we'd have a bit of a like, oh, hey Dave, you're right, mate. Can you any chance one day you can link me up, you know? And that kind of like mad sort of strategic plotting started to go on, and that's just one example. But we used to spend a lot of time, as well as trying to learn our art form, but working out how to basically move up this like long ladder. And that isn't always fun, and that's, you know, you get rejected a hell of a lot, and you know, it's difficult, and you know, more time than not you're getting slapped in the face, and it's kind of and yeah, you're spending a lot of time without any money, any income, you know, sort of basically on the dole. Our mums are like, what the hell are you doing up there? You know, this is, you know, when are you going to come back to London and get a real job? And you know, our friends are starting to make money and stuff, and so those times are stressful. But I also think those times, you know, we were connected before on a sort of, you know, joint passion, you know, similar interests, and now you connect on a level of like, I need you, and you need me. And suddenly my mum was like, and how's Saul doing? Is Saul all right? Is he still doing well? And you know, his mum, is Will okay? You know what I mean? Because it's like you are reliant on each other now to basically have an income and have a living.
And I think something's important that kind of predates lots of that is one's quick to forget that actually two base things that drove this. So we got to know a lot of the guys in the record shops before it became like, you know, that'd be a smart play, was just because we were obsessed with the music, and therefore going in the record shops 5 days a week and getting as many promos as you can and knowing everyone. So when the promo comes in, yes, so what's good? You're like, that's my brother, thank you. Yep. I don't need it, but I'll have it because it's a white label. You know, like it was the passion, the crazy love about it. And something that really spurred us to like, right, let's do this. As before, I think we thought it's a monetary, you know, option. Is we're good DJs. We thought we're good DJs. We want to. If you give us the opportunity to play in this nightclub, main slot, we'll smash it. We know it, but no one's going to give us the opportunity. How can we do that? How can we get noticed? How can we get known? And then everything else became a part of it. And that fundamentally led to us saying we need to make music, and that was
part of the strategy. Yeah.
You go from befriending the people that work in the record store, and we're sitting here now, and the awards and the record sales and the gigs you've played, you know, we're talking about the biggest venues around the world. That's a leap. So I'd love to know the story of how you go from saying, do you know an A&R guy in Manchester to us sitting having this conversation now. So what happened next?
Yeah, well, it's a long story, obviously. And
Can you do it in about 20 minutes?
Well, you sort of. I mean, it's a series of doors, basically, that you don't open, you kind of kick open.
And by the way, I asked this question because our podcast audience is full of people with a dream and an ambition and an obsession. But they believe, like many young people do, I'm born in this is my box, this is my path in life.
Oh, right.
There's no way through. And you guys are living proof that that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, it was never not an option for us to do what we do. And I think people say, oh, you know, are you, a question we always get asked is, you know, how did you always, are you always like sort of surprised at your success, and you know, have you always sort of looked at these crowds and these accolades and thought, wow, you know, how did we get here? And we sound really arrogant, but we always knew we'd make it. We always knew. There was never a single doubt that we wouldn't get to where we wanted to be. And it wasn't, we weren't arrogant, we were full of self,
I'm full of self.
I think, you know, it wasn't like, we didn't
That's the thing, that you can believe that and still be full of self-doubt.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't this sort of delusional, like, we're just better than everyone. It was just like, because there's no other option for us, this is what we want to do, we love it so much, it's a long shot, making money from music is quite, you know, probably high risk, but it was like, we'll just do anything it takes to make, there will just never be a time when we're not figuring it out. And whether that means we've got to make friends with 1 million record shop owners or do even more ludicrous stuff, we'll just do that. And it's fine, we'll just keep doing that. And eventually a door will open. And it's definitely easier with two people. I think, you know, it's a lot of tough times in that journey and a hell of a lot of rejection and doubt and like, oh my God, this is a nightmare. What are we doing? But in those super low times, you look at your partner and you end up laughing because like,
someone else,
you're in this. At least
so
you're in it with me.
Can you give us an example of like a really low time then of where you did call on each other?
Oh man, I think there's been a lot of times when So probably actually the hardest times are when you start to get success, and then you get a lot more expectation and pressure in a way, because when you're just trying to start out, everything's a win, because your base level is just loss. You're not winning anything. You're just nothing. So anything good happens is a win, and anything rubbish happens is just normal. And then you start doing really well, and it's like there's a chance to continue that, and the losses feel quite painful, and rejection of maybe it's a song doesn't do well, or a record label isn't happy with something, or whatever it might be, a bad gig or something. You start, though, that sort of doubt creeps, and you go, oh my God, we're going to go back to square one again. Can we keep this going now? And more money gets involved, and more people are interested in it. And I think some of those times, particularly the sort of difficult second album, after our first album, I felt we'd built this thing up where we're very proud of. The second album was like suddenly major labels and big money, Universal Music were involved, and they were like, right, this is it. It's all on you now to become this big act. And we both just had a full-on meltdown.
Second album syndrome is legitimately something that
100%.
most artists actually experience.
And we
why is that?
Apart.
So, I mean, I wouldn't come back to it, but that idea of the second album.
Because the debut album, you have nothing to lose. You can't believe you're making an album in the first place, because what are we doing making an album? Anyway, you make that first album, the album's done really well. And off the back of that album, which has went gold on independent, we've signed with a major. That's random. Anyway, and then you go to make the next second album, and part of you wants just to make the first one again, but you can't, because you've done that. And you know yourself, we're not ones for just recreating what we've done over and over, we want to do something new. And we knew that, it had to be bigger, better, we had different ideas, and all of those things, and then trying to have that success and keep the original fans without alienating them, because the second album had a lot of more different genres on there than just drum and bass. First album had drum and bass, 2 dubstep songs and a hip hop track. It was all lots of instrumental music. And the second album was geared around our live show, and it was different direction, taking it up a notch. And
the dangerous position there of like losing all you've built, all your original fans. Like, hang on, this isn't what we signed up to. You've sold out. That classic thing of like, you've sold out.
We've do. No,
and once if that happens, and a lot of our peers were doing that at the time. We saw a lot of people sort of jump for the stars, miss. You can't go back to where you came from. You're in no man's land at that point as an artist. You're like, well, you're not cool anymore. You're not successful on a commercial level, so you are really screwed, really. And then you really kind of lost it. And that's why you see a lot of artists have that flash moment, and then you never hear them again. And that was that moment. It was a really dangerous territory for us. It was like, this is make or break, 100%. If this album doesn't really go, we won't be able to go back to that last 5 years that we built up, blood, sweat and tears. This fan base we'd loyally built up. This doesn't stick, we'll be isolated as an act, we felt anyway. And the pressure of that, and trying to meet deadlines, managers going, you need this, and the record label being like, it needs to be more commercial, we need more singers, we're not really into that. All of that, was a lot. And, definitely at the time, if it had just been me on my own, or sure Saul's own, trying to do that, it would have been probably too much.
Contract negotiations where things have been, beginning of the career that were a little bit, skew with, shall we say. And it's a good to have your partner there. It was a good cop, bad cop, also worked kind of well.
But what's intriguing is that you describe 2 types of pressure here. So when you start out and you say that you've burnt your boats, you've just decided that you're going to make money from music, and yet you seem comfortable with that pressure.
Yeah.
And yet when you've then started to make money, do you think it's something about, at first you've said you're playing to win on that first album, on the second one you're playing not to lose?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, the first one you've got nothing to lose, then you've got something to lose. I guess it's kind of that, really.
Yeah, but that's a bit defeatist, really, because we don't want to lose, but believe me, we wanted to win. We didn't want to just this album's all right. We wanted to write, big boy album, like make sure this is sick, and that's all that counts basically. The way that this is sick, and hopefully with that, get some success, and that obviously went on to be our biggest album to date and our most successful one, which I don't think we were just born out of the fear of not losing. You know, we knew like we wanted. It was the birth of the live show as well for us. You know, and it all went hand in hand, and it was a real like a departure, I guess, from the nightclubs, and to show we are also, you know, a festival-ready act to make those kind of moments.
What I'm picking up a lot of here, though, is like you two are both very happy to take a leap. Like walking away from university is a leap. Staying up in Manchester where you were rather than coming home and getting a job. Most people go, well, I'll go home, I know I can live for free, I'll get a job, and then once I've got a job for 6 months and I've got some money in the bank, then let's have a chat.
Yeah.
Whereas you do it the totally opposite way. You're kind of, I imagine you live in hand to mouth, you're hoping for the best. Then you go to a major label, another leap of faith. Then you decide, right, we've done that, what's next? Let's go and be an amazing live act. Yeah. Where do you both think, whether it was your upbringing or pushing each other on, where did this spirit of risk-taking and taking leaps of faith come from?
I mean, I think weirdly, I mean, that's kind of like a part, we're both madly ambitious, right? And madly competitive as well, actually. Luckily, not too much with each other, which I think we couldn't exist if we were just constantly competing with each other, because it would just be stupid. But when coming through, we were competitive with our peers. We were very business. You know, it wasn't all like, let's go to the after party with the other artists in our scene. It was like, we're just about our business, and we're basically trying to get above you in your business.
Brilliant.
We were really competitive.
But that's your industry, man.
Well,
People will eat you alive.
You say that.
We love that.
It is quite. But also, dance music. There is a reputation. There's a lot of like partying, and there's a lot of looseness in our industry. Electronic music, DJs, after parties, superstars floating around. Drugs, all that kind of lifestyle. When we were trying to make it, we were not about that at all. We were boring. We were so business with what we did, and that is part of that is the sort of competitive nature in us. And I don't really know where that comes from. I can't place it in myself.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's inbuilt.
But we're very ambitious, and it wasn't like let's just try and do well. It was let's be the absolute best.
Yeah, but
that's the only thing that's good enough. And it sounds quite kind of arrogant but I guess it was like, well, it's all or nothing sort of thing, and you can always be better, can't you?
It all comes from that competitiveness. We entered the Culture Clash a few years ago with our team, Rebel Sound, and we won it quite handedly. And it's weird, but that takes us back to the beginning. When we first linked up, our competitiveness was drawing tunes on each other. Okay, that's sick. And that became I want to play a better tune than you. And even when we started DJing out as Chase and Status, it's like drawing a little mix on each other. You've done that one, yeah? Okay. All right, I better do a good one now, sod him, yeah, and then that became a bit less aggy, but it definitely was a big part of the start of it. I think that whole culture we're from, like jungle, drum and bass, the whole culture is that. It's clash. It's like drawing tunes on people, making a tune, playing a tune that people go nuts to, turning to someone else and saying, what I'm saying. I think it's a big part of it, I think, 100%.
But I love the clinical nature of this, that you're not getting, you're playing to thousands of people, you're creating adrenaline and these amazing vibes, and then you can switch off from that and go into business mode from when you walk back afterwards. So how did you sort of avoid getting seduced by the trappings of the success and or the comfort blanket of people patting you on the back?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I definitely, on that front, we're just not those guys. We're not ones for praise or insults, really. We don't read comments, we don't read good things, we don't read bad things about us. It's just, none of it is healthy. You know what I mean? In the slightest, I don't think.
Lots of people say that. Yeah. Lots of people say, don't read the...
They're lying.
I'm sure, yeah.
I've glanced at it, but I don't mean, I'm not here to be like, oh, wow, people... It doesn't matter. 100 people could say, you're amazing, and someone could say, you're terrible, and I'd be like, that terrible one's really made me feel away. That's annoying. Yeah, but 1,000 people said you're great. So forget about them. Who's this 7-year-old from,
I think as well, there's always more to be done. We always had this feeling, and still do, that there's always something more to be done. So it was always like, straight out the gig, back into the car and get to the studio, get to the next gig. Not, oh, let's have a drink and celebrate that big moment. And a nice example of that, I think when we released our first album, or first single, or first song on vinyl, just like an underground dance release, might have even been an Alias.
Yeah, it was 2003.
And it was just completely like, probably like 100 copies pressed on vinyl, but it was our first moment on vinyl. And a friend of mine sent us a bottle of champagne and said, wow, you guys are, you know, you're like 22, whatever, you've got a song on a record, like, well done. And we thought, oh, should we pop the champagne tonight? I thought, no, actually, because we just want to finish this thing for like, we had this other little thing bubbling away. And let's do that. Let's get on that record label, another little label, and then let's drink it. And we did that a month or two later, and then it was, let's just, kept going. And we still got that bottle of champagne. And it's sort of a nice sentiment of like, it was just kind of like...
We're not ready to pop it yet.
Yeah, there's never a moment of like, we've done it. Never ever feel like that. We never ever, there's always like, oh, we still need to do this. We still need to headline that. We still need to do that. And that's kept us focused from getting caught up in the kind of, we're here, let's drink the champagne, let's, you know, lose sight of what we're trying to do.
It's a brilliant lesson, because actually along the way, the nice reminder for the both of you has been, and we all know of them, those acts who appear. We talk on this podcast, never get high on your own supply.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing.
Get high on their own supply. They are the last one at the bar. They are drinking the champagne.
Yeah.
They don't make the recording session the next day. They do start to piss off the record label and whatever. 6 months later, they're gone and you're still there. And people are going, why are those two still hanging around?
Yeah.
And that's why I love this conversation, because people that listen to your music love the music. They don't understand this work ethic, this drive, this determination, this constant focus on the process, not on the outcome. So is there an outcome? Is there a day where you would drink that champagne, do you think? Or are you totally happy never opening that bottle?
Well,
that's a victory in itself.
Yeah.
In some ways.
The latter, I'd be totally happy not opening it.
Yeah, I guess it's almost now it's become more, the minute it's sort of a sad day of like, well, it's sort of you're stopping, right? There's nothing more to achieve. And, you know, I think now obviously we're less, you know, obsessed about, we have less boxes maybe to tick than we used to, obviously. And we do celebrate, you know, our successes now and again. You know, we're not as fiercely mental as we used to be. But no, I don't know. I think as long as you still want to be working and performing at a high level, then I think the bottle stays shut really for us.
So what are the kind of, like, we use this phrase world-class basics. It's almost like the habits that you relentlessly focus on. What are the kind of world-class basics that if we came to watch you now when you're working, we'd have recognised it from back in the early 2000s?
It's a good question.
It's a good question, because I guess there are like three main elements for us. There's four. There's DJing, the live show, making tunes themselves, and then working with artists in the studio for their music. They all take completely different skills, really. But I think obviously we're very comfortable just making music, and we have maybe it together for a lifetime. And it's funny, it's hard to pinpoint, because you think DJing, okay, performing all these people, it's really just an extension of what we would have done in
do you mean kind of traits that are sort of traits that kind of
behaviours, things that you do, things that you bring to the table?
I think something that maybe a key to our success that's consistent through all of that and is still is kind of putting yourself in challenging situations and then turning up to them. And you see it time and time again, particularly in our industry. People can be flaky and not turn up, things get long, let's not do that actually, or allow that, and we've never ever missed a flight, not gone to a studio session, not met up with someone who we're nervous of, or a big name, or not put ourselves in an awkward work situation, in a weird interview situation, which sounds kind of basic, but you'd be amazed at how many people sometimes cop out when the going gets really tough. And just turning up, always just turning up, even when it's the last thing you want to do, or
being reliable, man.
Because we don't have to, right? We're self-employed, but we can choose our own destiny a little bit, and it's very easy. That's the danger of that. Is like, you know what? Let's just make an excuse and allow this today. And then again, we just look at each other and go, "Do you really though? Shall we?" And this, no, it's wrong. And some of the best stuff has happened from those times, and you've gone in a room with people that you're like, "Oh God, I'm dreading this," and then obviously you come out and then.
So give us an example of that, then, Will.
Well, I think high pressure really actually works for Will and I on every level. Be it, there isn't a single album we've done where until we were given like the absolute deadline, that if you don't get this deadline, the next year is over for you guys. And we've hit it. We always need these targets to go to, or being put in situations out of our comfort zone, like going in when we went in with Rihanna for the first time in 2009. That's a good example because we were so much younger. But we were in the room with her making music, and we didn't know what the hell we were doing. And she's, her music doesn't sound like ours, but we basically co-produced half an album for her and did loads of stuff with her, and we just dove straight in. You don't get much more deep end.
So how heavy was the imposter syndrome?
Massive, yeah.
I think I have that all the time. I talk to my wife about that actually, and forever. Self-doubt and questioning. Every session we go to, if it's for someone else, like we've made a whole load of beats beforehand, I'm anxious, thinking, man,
they're not going to like this.
Terrible.
Yeah, we're no one.
What if these 12 songs that we spent ages making are garbage and we're totally out of sync? And there's not been a single occasion where that's been the case. And every time we play the songs and the artist likes them and say, these are great, the relief is like, oh, wow. Like it's never happened before. But that's always going to be the way, I think. It's these high pressure works for us, I think.
How did you deal with the whole Rihanna situation and not allow yourselves to compromise yourselves through that fear?
Yeah, well, obviously you're equally excited as you are, terrified. And, we were completely terrified of making fools of ourselves or just not being good enough. And, she was very excited to work with us. And it sort of summoned us down to this.
Which if you've got imposter syndrome is weird in itself.
Weird anyway, yeah. And but, it was very lovely about it and said, come down to a studio in London for 2 weeks. I'm coming down to I'm bringing Jay-Z, Beyonce, the whole team. We're all going to be based there. I want you in one of the main studios. We're going to roll through our whole team and make this album together. So this was a while back. Okay,
the first album.
We'll be there. Thinking, oh my god, what we're gonna do? We don't, we're not we're not American pop producers. We're still writing drum bass, dubstep, like mad stuff back then. What the hell are we doing? And again, two people helps. Look at each other as you're in the front door, and you're like, I'm shitting it, and then you both just laugh. You're like, well, you go first, mate. At least you're with someone else. If it all goes tits up
together,
if someone needs a bit of a moment just to take a minute, the other person can just fill the void for a second. So that helped definitely. But I guess our ambition overrode that kind of like doubt, and it's like, this is your chance.
We'll make it work.
This is what you've been fighting for. So you only get one chance really at this kind of level. So you either turn up to this and you walk through the door and you just lay yourself out and just not, worry how it's going to go, or you just walk, you make your excuses and you don't, and you'll live to regret it. And it obviously went brilliantly for us, and we got a lot of good stuff from that and learned a lot. But I think as a trait, we've always forced each other and ourselves just to always turn up. And that means sort of metaphorically and physically.
Because some of the language that both of you use about this all or nothing, like this is our one shot, can often seem...
That's my trait.
It can sound quite extreme in terms of, for anyone listening to it. Have you ever had examples where it has gone wrong and you've realised that maybe that all or nothing wasn't what you feared it'd be?
I mean, I've had a couple of sessions where it's like they've been horrific.
We've
just left.
We've done. We've released music we didn't like. We've had songs that didn't connect. We've had bad releases and.
So how did you process that?
They've had to happen. It's cliched, isn't it? You had to go through the losses to learn, so that they wouldn't make the same mistake again. Had to go to that dry session. It was ages away and like miserable to get there and like totally off sync and like couldn't have been a worse connect. Why was it there in the first place? To know I'm not going to do that again. And I left, done it 100 times since.
Yeah.
With the same kind of answer, but you go back to what's the phrase? You keep going back to the scene of the crime each time, hoping for a different result, and sometimes you do get a different result. It's a risk you have to take, you know.
I'm enjoying this conversation because I'm seeing so there's like a mirror here for me. I mean, very, very different life. But when I ended up on kids' TV, I was exactly the same as you two. It was the environment where you had to fight and scrap and be absolutely self-obsessed. Not self-obsessed.
Yeah.
Absorbed, totally absorbed, totally determined, totally ready to be the person that makes the move. And then I ended up in Formula One and felt, not dissimilar to how you felt at times in your career, that everyone was expecting a fail and a flop. The only way through is to find it within yourself. And it's not going to come from anybody else. So it leads me to a question, because I reflect sometimes on my TV presenting career and think, could I have enjoyed it more?
Oh yeah, but yeah. The answer is yes.
Do you know what I mean?
The answer is yes.
Big time.
You know,
Yeah.
big time.
But then, what would you not have had though in return for the enjoyment?
We'd still be at the bar, you know. And I think maybe that's a sacrifice that you have to make to get to a high level in anything you do, right? I think probably most people would say along the way, looking back, they could have maybe stopped and paused and just, you know, enjoyed the moment a bit more. But I think it's impossible to do that or very hard to do that. And actually, it feels like you could say, well, was that a sacrifice? But I think that what you get in the long run outweighs maybe that small sacrifice. And, you know, trying to achieve your dreams or even get close to them is probably worth that small bit of sacrifice. And actually, are you actually missing out on that much? You know, I don't know. We've not been too bad. You know, we obviously have celebrated, but we have been quite single-minded about our sort of obsession of being successful and doing well. And maybe that's a small sacrifice, but I think long run, I'll do it. I wouldn't change a thing.
Change not a single thing. Even any things that went, you know. Like we say, like certain tracks shouldn't have been on certain albums of ours should have been shorter, this track should have been for someone else, not for us, blah, blah. But fundamentally, it's all led to this and where we are now and how we are with our families and everything, and I wouldn't change that.
I think that 5 studio albums.
It's about to be our 6th.
About to be our 6th,
an NME nomination, a Brit nomination, you've played the O2, you've won awards, you've had amazing hits. There's no party, there is no night out that would ever feel as good today as that story would feel when you sit here and reflect on it now.
Exactly, true, man. Yeah. Exactly. I think you take a quiet comfort rather than, you know, we don't need to do that, you know, to kind of acknowledge our successes. And I think, you know, we kind of know, you know, we're proud of each other and our work that we've done, and we just sort of quietly kind of acknowledge that rather than need to shout about it.
My eldest daughter, she's 6. She's just starting to kind of understand, figuring out something about what I may potentially be idea of doing. You're going to work again, Daddy? I'm like, I was at studio last night. And Mummy goes, Daddy makes music that people listen to and dance to. Oh, that's cool. And she's starting, and I'm like, okay, when they're going to start thinking I'm cool or like what I'm doing,
that'll be nice.
Then I might start, that might be a real like, wow.
Unfortunately, I'm going to break it to you now, bro. They're never going to be cool.
They will for a bit.
You will never be cool.
That's an exciting feeling, you know, like, wow, they might see this thing.
The legacy, at least, yeah.
See, but that's an interesting area that you talk about being parents and partners now, because that obsessive element that you had in your early 20s when you're 2 single lads going out, how have you woven in being parents and partners and married it up with this obsession of still loving
you know what, my wife, she should be here, Should ask her what it's like living with me, you know. She's
what would she say?
The poor girl. I mean, she's
got 3 kids.
She's great. I'm not easy to live with. I understand that. You know, I'm difficult. And I'm obsessive and all this, and the career is quite, you know, extra. So like this week, for instance, is our busiest week based so far this year, with sessions and interviews and so on and so forth. And it's also, you know, first week of half term, so she's just there with the kids who are stuck to her like glue, you know. But I think the obsession comes out with everything, even at home. Like I've got 2 dogs. I'm a crazy dog person, and I walk them every single day without fail at the same time, without fail. And like the thing that goes through my mind, if I haven't walked them, even like I haven't walked them today because I got in late, all I'm thinking about is got to get back and walk them. Like they need to walk. You know, like it goes everywhere, but it comes out in different places. You know, like yeah.
So if your daughter started to develop some of these characteristics you'd recognise in yourself, like this obsessive nature or maybe the compulsive element,
Yeah.
Would you encourage it, or would you look to maybe dilute
You know,
it?
I kind of understand, like, you know, there's no choice. She's not thinking, oh, I want to be like this. I want to suddenly do that. It's like, it's inbuilt. So rather than like, why are you doing that? You know, like, oh, I know why.
Right.
But also, let's have this conversation for a lot of people that think similarly to you, Saul, is it can be a really valuable and useful element of your life. It gets stuff done.
Well, I think if we had to like talk about OCDs, I think Will is very fastidious and neat and perfectionist, organised, you know, and I'm a complete mess. But it's
different, isn't it?
But my OCD is like, you know, I remember a conversation we had like 3 years ago, word for word, and like send him it. You know, I like I'm no details, things like that, like to the point. And like he's very particular like that, and I'm messy but obsessed with things. It's two different OCDs,
ways,
but they kind of work together.
And when you perform live, which I don't know whether you would agree is like the way to see chasing status,
definitely,
right?
man. Yeah.
How controlled is that?
Well, I mean, it's a big production, which is quite technical. So we're trying to fuse electronic music with live music and
visuals
and in the production as well, which is visuals and lighting and stuff. So it's quite controlled in the sense that we're not an acoustic band jamming on a stage that can just flip between songs whenever we want, stop, start. You know, there's a controlled sense to the show. It's quite rehearsed, basically. I think that goes along with probably the genre of the style of music and what we're trying to do in that sphere. But we definitely run a tight ship with the crew, and there's 30 people involved with our live show, and our manager is equally controlled, and that's why we work well with her, and she's obsessed about the detail and working with other people like that. And so I guess that's we wouldn't be this successful without brilliant people helping us, and we recognize the same traits we have in other people, that attention to detail and obsession about getting things really to a proper level. Those are the people we tend to work with, and because of that, I would say we've been very blessed with amazing people throughout our lives, whether it's our lawyer or our accountant, our live production manager, or our agents. So they're all kind of similar to us in varying ways. But so that's something we hold dearly, yeah.
This is when it sort of changes a bit, because when it's just a duo, there's only one other person's emotions to take into account, and if you offend that person, it's kind of okay to go and say sorry and it's done. When you talk about doing the live show with this amount of staff, the two of you and your manager, you're kind of like the CEO, the MD, and the COO of a business at that point.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested how you share the messaging with the people that are not on the stage and aren't getting the adulation and won't be making the big bucks from the show, or the people that aren't good enough. How do you deal with that? And how do you put a team together?
Yeah.
Fascinated by that.
I mean, our agent as well is literally the sort of CFO or COO as well. He's someone we've been with since the very start. And
when you say the start, from back in Manchester?
Yeah, he's our first agent from
our
2004.
agent, is sort of literally
the backbone of our entire live career.
And our lawyer, I guess we are good at letting people get on with their jobs. Once you trust someone and they're awesome and on the same kind of level as you, it's
and
like,
then
cool.
get to know you as well.
Just do you then. What we don't do is we don't kind of micromanage too much, and we're not always in people's business, and we're like, actually I think the controlling nature that we talked about we don't try too much to control everyone else around us all the time, which as we have in the past. I've been probably guilty of that, and you can definitely see that doesn't react well, and you actually just start messing everyone up. And so we definitely let a team that we love and know now just get on with it, and that's lovely for us, because it means we can get on with our work and have full trust in the people around us to make difficult decisions.
What do you think, Saul?
Yeah.
Is it harder with your obsession? Like sometimes when you see people not
to let it go.
Well, it's kind of like yes and no. Like I notice a lot of things Like if things are like incorrect or something, I'm always the
You're
one
definitely
I'm always the one to
one.
notice it. You know, like that's a typo. We can't put that out. You name it. I'm that eagle-eyed on that.
You keep people on your toes.
On their toes.
On their toes, that's for sure.
That's definitely.
How do you do that?
Is that a quality? I just.
By being obsessed with absolutely everything.
Yeah, so I know, you know, on all the elements, I'm always quick to know, like, these are the wrong track listing, this is the wrong order, that's the wrong thing, that's a full stop, that should be a comma.
Yeah.
All that kind of annoying stuff. But what I don't actually, like Will said in the micromanagement, is I'm not telling my
Someone
agent how to do his job.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's the best agent in the world for me. So he don't, you know, I basically like, what do you think, Obi? Should we do this? He's like, yeah. Or no, I don't think so. And I'm like, I agree. Generally, we agree. If we don't agree, believe me, I'll say so. But yeah, it's all about kind of controlling the things that I feel that I'm able to have a genuine input on and not be like talking rubbish. And if it's something that I have really no clue about, I'm like, I'll
Accept that.
I'll trust the experts. And if it's one of us, you know, if Will's like, no, I know, I'm like, cool, I'll follow your lead on that.
Yeah.
So can I ask you about the dynamic between you two? Because like I'm getting echoes of an interview we did with an entrepreneur called Holly Tucker, who founded a business called NotOnTheHighStreet.com, where she spoke about her and her business partner. She described them as the yin to their yang.
Of course,
so one of them was creative, one of them was brilliant at the detail of running the business.
Yeah.
Is it as clearly defined as that between you two?
Not probably as clearly defined, but I mean, we're definitely yin and yang. I think, you know, people have mentioned that and we talk about that a lot. Saul also said earlier on, good cop, bad cop, which, I mean, probably less so now. You know, we're probably more similar now than we used to be, but...
and I'm softer as I know.
Yeah, exactly. But
so were you the bad cop, Saul?
Yeah,
Still am.
yeah.
But like, it used to be like, what was that?
The worst cop.
Yeah. But it's like, what's his name? Harvey Keitel's a really bad.
Yeah, I mean,
that one.
Bad cop, bad lieutenant, or whatever.
Yeah, that's it. No, maybe not quite. Yeah, that was the film, but that is a deep.
It definitely, the good cop, bad cop thing is great because obviously sometimes it's nice to get on with people and, you know, work with people on that level, and sometimes it's good to let people know that you're not going to be a pushover. And probably if it's up to me, you know, I'm probably too nice and could particularly back.
It's reversed now, mate.
It's probably reversed now, but you know,
I'm soft and he's unbelievable.
Particularly when you're trying to make it and, you know, get out of that difficult phase where everyone's trying to do the same as you, and it's
people try to take the mick at the start.
A
couple of people
you get walked
tried
over. You get walked all over all the
tried.
time, and exactly. And so, you know, Saul was very good at being like, I don't think so. You know, this is what we want, and it was, you know, real cheeky stuff like saying,
sort of stuff?
well, just to
don't
talk.
try not to give you advances or like agreed in advance with one of us, and then as the thing is coming along, the advance isn't the same. I'm like, we agreed this, we all heard the conversation, and for me, well,
They're speaking to our people way above our pay grade.
Way
you
above
know.
us. We're just
Thinking they could just sort of say, you know what, you two are done, and he was there going, I don't give a damn. Trust me, this. And I was like, oh my god, you know, this is not going to end well for us. And it always ended well for us.
And it's because for me, and it's led to us getting a lot of calls from our peers saying, hey, can I get a bit of advice here and that? And the simplest advice is, we took for ourselves is, if you go into this game, into this world that you love so much, just desperate and grateful to be given the opportunity, that like they're so high and mighty and your music is just, thank you so much for having it. It's the wrong attitude to have. You need to know your worth. And like
very difficult.
Straight away, just be like, well, this is maybe not the remuneration of it. Just like this is worth something more than that, and you're not having it until we get what we want. And if you want it, you can have it. If you don't, it's all good. And with that, people will be like, fair enough, let's talk. Rather than like, oh yeah, I gave so and so the song for free because I'm so pleased to be on X and Y. I'm like, great, you'll never get paid ever. Yeah. You know, you got to start where you mean to go on, basically, and that was important for us.
So did you two ever sit down and formally agree what type of roles or characteristics you're going to do?
No, not really. I think, you know, we tried, and then it's kind of pointless. And, you know, when you work so closely together and it's a small setup, you don't, it kind of, it either works on that sort of other level or it doesn't. If you try and stick to these kind of rules written down, agreed, things get a bit stiff. And then if someone doesn't, and then it's like, well, you didn't do that, and we said to, and you end up bickering about the detail. And I think at some point you just have to trust that each other. It's not always perfectly 50-50. Sometimes someone else does more of the work. Sometimes that will swing around, and then another time, you know what I mean? You can't always put everything like, right, you're doing exactly that, and I'll do exactly this. otherwise you spend so much time manifesting.
I
just
did more
obsessing.
than you did more. It's
Yeah,
not
but I
healthy.
mean, the reason I ask is because you made the comment, Will, that that you've changed. So
Yeah.
that Saul was the bad cop, and now you said, well, actually, it's probably more of me. So
Yeah.
so you've obviously adapted as you've been working together for so long.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
bad cop and nastier cop.
I
Who
think,
knows?
yeah. I mean, I think again, you know, when we were starting out, things were way more intense with our working relationship. It was just me and Saul, right? We did everything. We managed ourselves. We did everything.
We lived
You
a
know,
street
we
from-
were
like,
running
street from each other,
We were doing.
studio every
we were
day.
managing our entire careers. Now we're blessed to have a big team of great people taking that pressure off us. So really, our work is a bit more fun and creative, and like, right, how do we make cool tunes again? We're not so worried about the strategy, and you know, we're across it with our team, but it's not reliant on me or him to sort of pull our fingers out and get it right. And so it's a bit, yeah, we don't have to have that sort of intense kind of working relationship as much as we did.
And as you get to this 6th album, do you both get this sense that you're maybe working with more freedom than ever before, because you have got people to carry that
Yeah,
load?
kind of.
You have achieved an incredible amount. Like literally, you could never do another day's work, and you've been a success.
Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, that's almost like where the name came
Yeah,
from.
that's really-
I think we got to a point after our last album and the time thinking about life through lockdown and whatever, and reflecting and stuff, and just thinking like, wow, we have kind of come full circle to a point where we feel now we can make music and do what we love doing with the freedom that we had when we were in Manchester, without anything to lose. And without the pressures of that second album, or the career to maintain, or the business side of it getting involved, we sort of got to a point where it was like, wow, we've had an amazing legacy and career, and amazing 15 years of experiences that we treasure, and let's use all of that to sort of go back to how we felt at the start. And that's where the album title came from. What came before? It's kind of like what came before was just the freedom to do what we love doing without thinking about anything else.
Listen, we've reached the point where we go into our quick-fire questions. This will take double the time it normally does. So it won't be particularly quick-fire. And I'm looking forward to the first answer to this one, which is your 3 non-negotiables that you have to deliver and the people around you have to deliver. What are the 3 things that you always bring to the table?
Kind of traits. Being on time. Yeah. Being clear communicator.
Does that count as being reliable? On time, yeah, it's the same.
Kind of. I mean, being, yeah.
You're allowed 6, by the way, because there was 2 of you.
Okay,
Yeah.
reliable, because we're definitely reliable.
Yeah.
We're pretty much on time.
I think for me, communicating, things can get really complex, and people that can't communicate simply.
Keep it simple.
Very simple.
Keep things simple, yeah. Less is more.
Yeah. That's enough. Yeah.
We got 2 more.
Do you want 3 or 6?
I'd like 6.
All right. Okay.
Non-negotiables. In terms of
Yeah. What else?
honest.
Being
I think
honest,
has to be the
yeah.
first, man. The absolute
You'd have that as
first.
number 1, would you?
I think I would have it. Honesty.
Yeah.
You know, with me personally, it can obviously get me some situations, but just it has to. I mean, more to the point. But being honest, just be straight.
But
with
does
us.
it doesn't
Be
matter
straight
if
with
it
us.
gets you into a
No,
situation,
it doesn't.
if it's honesty.
It doesn't. Just be straight.
Yeah.
Whatever it is with us. You're
Yeah.
not happy with something. You are happy with something. Great. Every now and again, it's nice to hear that you're happy. But like, yeah, if you're not happy, we want to know immediately. Please don't, don't hide it or go elsewhere and say it. Just we're here, and we and what is it? What's the word for if there ever is a situation? We always want to sort it out. If we make a mistake, we're quick to realize it, you know, and like take accountability. There we are.
Brilliant. What advice would you give to a teenage Will and a teenage Saul just starting out?
Again, I know it's so cliched and horrific to say, but like, if we changed anything we did, be it going to the raves back then, to Bagley's, to anything at Manchester, I wouldn't change a thing.
I tell you what, maybe I'd say, to young me, like, if you can, try and find someone else that's into what you're into, and try and do something with them, because it's definitely being on your own is tough, and I think every successful person has someone with them, whether they're in profile or not. There might be a quiet partner or something, but just to be on your own, particularly as a forward-facing artist, is tough. And so find someone that you can build something with and work with.
Love that.
Anything to add, Saul?
Not really. It's like
We're the same answers, man. We're going to be the same.
I really think it all works. It's all panning out.
It's great.
Just keep. The one decision that we made, I think, that for Will and I made, that actually I think was the real fork in the street one, where you can either go this way and go the long way around, because we knew we were going to make it anyhow at some stage, or okay, this is how it's going to start. Moving for you boys now, is came down to Manchester with the dub plate, went to Black Market Records, paid for the DJ in there, and he took the dub plate off me, and he said, if I can keep this, I'll play it tonight at Fabric. I called up Will. He was like, what is this mad thing to do? Why are we doing this? We discussed it for a minute, then decided it's a good idea. Gave the kid the thing. Thought I'd never hear from him ever again. 3 a.m. that morning, phone call from kid at Fabric, people going crazy. Bam, 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 my sister wants to talk to you. His sister ended up signing the record for us on the Monday. Our lives changed. We were like, this is going to happen. This is starting to happen. And it would be to remind myself, the young me, of that moment, because you forget those things, and actually like taking that real punt. Like, we'd driven down to Manchester for 3 hours, gone to a dub cutting house, cut that for ages, spent our last 50 quid on it, gone to Black Market Records, paid to this geezer, and I've given it to him.
Yep.
My friend who drove me there was like, you are an idiot. I've driven you all around the country and you've given the thing away. Get out my car. Like, pretty much livid. And it was just to remind myself, you know what, sometimes you've got to take that scary leap. Because if we didn't take that leap, which at the time it was a big leap for us. Like I said, it was a wasted trip coming down from Manchester, spending all our money. We didn't have 50 quid at all. And that leap ended up, being the start of it. So
it's a really good lesson as well, for people listening to this, because people will be thinking, right, okay, I understand this now. I'm going to be like the guys. I'm going to really believe it's going to happen, but I'm going to marry that belief with an incredible work ethic, unbelievable attention to detail, and strong communication. But you know what? The thing that changed your entire careers was totally out of your hands.
Yeah.
You didn't control that moment. You didn't know that moment was going to happen. And that is also a really important lesson for people, is like, the universe has to play a part in all of this as well.
Yeah. Take some risks.
You got to go and do it.
Just chuck yourself in the deep end. Yeah, and who knows?
Next question is, how important is legacy to you both?
I think it is important. It wasn't, and now it is. And I guess we're proud of what we've done, and we've seen so many people, like I mentioned earlier, come and go, which is really sad. Lots of our friends, lots of our peers who we thought were going to become huge and sort of go on to have careers have kind of suddenly disappeared, and for whatever reason, maybe intentionally, but it's tough to kind of keep things going, and I guess things do end someday, and I would be probably most proud of getting to the end of this journey and ending on a high, not one of these spectacular bands that fall out with a label or fall out with each other, or kind of things get a bit neggy at the end. And I would love to, the day we decide, okay, we're not going to do this anymore, for it to end on a real high, and then at that moment to maybe open that bottle of champagne and go, hasn't been such a bad journey after all.
Yeah, that's very good. Okay, I can't add too much more, but I think I'm already kind of proud of where we're at, and I've only realised it in the last few months, because it's dawning on me that it's 20 years next year, and it's like, wow, we actually have done quite a bit, and to the extent that I do feel, if after the pandemic and the clubs open, we were allowed to DJ again, the amount of shows that we had was very humbling. Like, it was so many, and it was like, wow, people really do want to see us, and we still have a great fan base, and that was without any new music. So, I'm excited for hopefully it's a legacy of great albums still to come. And the beauty about what we do, I think, is that when we do decide to no longer perform, or be the band or whatever, there's still so many parts of the music industry and the career that we can work in, producing for other people and constantly making music. I don't think there'll be actually a day, popping that champagne or not, where Will and I won't be making music. I think it's intrinsic to us, it's in us. Yep. It's a release, it's an outlet that you need. And I think, as long as that's inside us, we'll always be creating.
If you could go back to one moment in your life, what would it be and why?
There's been a few moments that are all kind of similar in the sense that the phone has rung. This is again us professionally starting out and desperate to try and prove to ourselves that this could even work. And a few moments where the phone has rung and someone on the end of the line has said something to us that has been so exciting. Basically had picked up the phone and said yes. And me and Saul have sort of hung up from that moment and, looked at each other and had that unbelievable, like, out of world experience of like, the most exciting thing has just happened. And whether that was a record label sort of saying, guys, I'm so-and-so and I want to sign you to a big deal, and from, no one, or a big artist we worshipped and looked up to would call us and say, I want to work with you guys. Those moments when you're starting out are unlike any other moment, even more exciting than when we headlined sort of Glastonbury to 65,000 people, which is out of body experience. But those moments when you got an email or an AIM, an AOL instant message, or as I said, a text message or something.
MySpace.
When we were 23 years old, a message from someone saying, yo, I've just heard this thing, I want to meet up. And, we would be on the floor with excitement and energy and like, that feeling is, I don't think we'll ever feel that level again.
It was very personal as well, because those moments were just happening with us. Yeah.
Someone saying, I'm gonna do this with you guys, and I want to make this work.
I mean, obviously the rush of playing to 80,000 people, whatever, is like, wow. But this is a very different, very personal, very like, understated moments that we've had there with on the phone, definitely.
And the final question for people listening to this is kind of your last message, really, and it is your one golden rule for living a high performance life. What is the one final thing you'd like to say to the listeners and the viewers from this conversation?
For me, it's learning the art of collaboration, and whether that's collaborating with the million artists we've worked with through just the physical nature of making songs with other people, whether it's collaborating with all the people we run our business with, or whether it's collaborating with each other. And it's a really difficult thing to do well. I think probably it's an art form in itself, but if you do it well, I think it's probably the most powerful thing you can do. And I'd like to think our career is a testament to that.
Yeah, the phrase life's a team sport.
Yeah.
So true, isn't it?
It absolutely is.
And honesty and dedication, they will get you very, very far. You can always work more when you're younger, especially. You don't realize it at the time because you're just in your life. But as you get older and you get responsibilities and families and pets and kids and everything, and you have less time. Yeah. So when you have that passion, that fire in your belly, that like those like blinkers that nothing else you can see past, but doing this, the blinkers, sorry, just got to run with it. And we sacrificed everything to do it at the time. We weren't going out to nightclubs, bars, like linking up with our girlfriends, nothing. We were in the studio 23 hours a day. And it was all like sacrifice for the one day we'd be able to do what we love. And that determination, I think, is very important.
What a brilliant and fascinating conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
We've spoken for an hour. We haven't really discussed music. Not once.
Great fun.
But you know what? I get a real sense, right, of real gratitude for each other from you two.
Definitely,
which I think is really nice, and I'm sure you've taken the time to thank each other on many occasions for the journey that you've gone on together. But
there's no need to be sarcastic.
It is a reminder of how much deeper it can be when you get someone to share it with.
Yeah,
you can talk to other people about what you've been through, but it's only those that you've actually been through it with that really know. So
100%. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Brilliant.
Please hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, give us a thumbs up, leave a review, but somehow get involved with the High Performance Podcast and become part of our growing community. Thanks for being part of the adventure.